Hi Hemant.
Hi Shanti.
So what is your demo today?
So today I'll be walking over how we can install Flask web server on Linux virtual machine in Azure portal.
Okay, okay. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sure.
I'll put on.
Yeah. So as part of this walkthrough, I have captured is the AI prompts that would be helpful to set up, configure, and install the Flask web server. Along with that, have captured some steps that we will be performing on virtual machine on Azure cloud portal as well. So I will go over those some of the screenshots. So this is the prompt I used on Gemini, basically asking, please provide all the details for Flask and provide me the script as well without any infrastructure as code. Okay, so here we have this logged into Azure portal where we will first create an resource group under which we'll allocate the resources like virtual machine, network interface card, and other dependency resources. So on the search tab, you go search for the resource group and create a resource group named Flask U12 here and followed by RG as a suffix. So we'll go ahead now create a virtual machine which will be part of this resource group. And I'm using Ubuntu flavor of Linux for this demo. And I've used South Central as a region. The name I gave is Flask VM. I put the size that is should be good enough for this demo with the minimal settings. And because this is a Linux virtual machine, we won't be using RDP, but instead we use SSH for login. That is more secure than the login and password. We will also see at the end, along with Azure client command line interface, we'll also try to connect to this virtual machine using PuTTY as well. So once all the validation is passed, we'll go ahead and create this virtual machine. You can see the deployment is complete with 5 dependencies that also will be generated as part of this virtual machine. Now we'll try to connect. You can see the public ID that's been assigned for this virtual machine. So at the bottom, you can see we have 2 options how you can connect to this virtual machine, either through Azure command line interface or native SSH. So I'm going in with CLI, which is Azure's built-in command that has some intelligence and that helps with populating some of the commands for us so that we can save time on some other important tasks. So we gave a command with SSH asking us to connect to this VM, provided subscription ID and resource group. After that, before we set up Flask, there are some prerequisites that are required. First, we'll verify if all the existing packages are up to date. So we use an package tool command apt. We update and see that all our packages upgraded. Then, as part of Flask, we also need a Python um, as well for this environment setup. So even before installing Flask, we'll install Python 3 in this scenario, and we have this separate package manager for Python, which is pip. We are using that to install Python here of packet manager. And once that is installed, we will also install um, Flask. So once the packet manager installing, we will also need a separate virtual environment for each project. So one approach that Flask has is it likes to keep the projects independent of each other. Say for today, I'm installing Python with 3.10 version. And tomorrow there's a need for a project that needs to be run on 3.9. In that case, we will create one more virtual environment with 3.9, and we'll keep that project independent of this project. That way, there's no dependency on the libraries from this project compared to the upcoming project. So that's how this is more robust and more flexible, and we can avoid conflicts between libraries during installation, and that's how it makes it more reliable as well. So we'll go ahead and we're going to install or set up a new virtual environment with this command sudo apt install python 3.10. Okay, once the environment set up, we basically activate. So you can see there's a command source that helps us activate and run the scripts that are under this path, which is I gave my virtual environment name as my Flask STG in this example. So once that is done, you can see the prompt actually shows the environment onto the very left. That means we are now inside that virtual environment, and we can install the Flask here. Using the pip command, we will install the Flask. And this actually takes lesser time than installing Python that we will see during our Azure portal execution. So you can see the Python is running, and to basically see how the application works, I created a small program called app.py, which is a Python file. And with the help of nano command, I was able to edit and write a code which basically prints some line console statement. So after editing that app.py file, then now I use Python to basically run the file. So you can see the moment when you say that the name of the file under serving Flask, that means the Flask web server is already installed, and it's now pointing to the app application, or you can say the file. So one good part of Flask is it provides this built-in development built-in server. That means while you develop, you're writing your code, um, and you have to execute, you don't have to start and stop your current execution. It would refresh by itself, and you can see the latest changes right away. So that's the beauty of Flask that you have. And you can see that the debugger is active. This is something we suggest, or we can do this only in lower environment, not in production. Okay. You can see, okay, now don't need this. So by default, like HTTP has this default port 80 or 8080 that we use or allow the traffic to come in. By default on Flask, it gives a port for 5000. So we need to also manually set up on the inbound security rules to basically allow traffic on this port so that we can see the output. So I have updated that here in the network settings. And once I open the VM, in this case, I gave a port 8080. You can see the app.python file got executed and gave us a output as hello world. So now we'll go ahead, try to execute similar um, setup on Azure portal as well. Go ahead, let's confirm how many VMs we have. We just need to, okay. So let's create one resource group. Say, let's call it, this is Flask app. Hello world Flask, I'll say hello Flask underscore resource group. Okay, let's create some tags. Okay, say Flask web server, say, and review and create. Okay, the resource group is ready. Then we'll go and find a resource for virtual machine. We'll create one virtual machine. We already have Flask underscore VM. We'll try to name something different. So we'll pick the recently created resource group, which is Hello Flask, and I'll give the name for the virtual machine as say Python Flask -VM. I'll keep the region as it is. I'll change the availability options to no infrastructure needed. Security type, I'll keep the minimum, which is standard in this case. And because we'll be building on Linux virtual machine, we have this latest Ubuntu version, which is also long-term support provides. That means there's very minimal or no errors in this VM as part of this installation. So we'll go ahead, and even for the size, as per the demo, we don't need much GB for RAM. A lot of disk space is not needed. I'm keeping it to very minimal. You can see that. And for authentication type, we'll go ahead with SSH public key, and I'll change the username so that it's easy. And here we won't, just like RDP, we won't we won't set up with password, even though I think it provides an option, but we'll keep with security key. So I'll say generate a new key pair. Doesn't matter which key type, is it RSA or ED 25519. Okay, it already picked a name for the key pair, which is Python Flask VM underscore key. I'm fine with that. I'm allowing ports SSH, and also will allow HTTP as well. Okay, now we'll go to the next tab. Here we'll keep the image size 30, that is a minimal. I will change the disk type to something even standard in this case. Then we'll go to the networking tab. You can see the subnet is already picked up. A new IP address will be assigned. That all remains the same. I'm also checking this option to delete the network interface card, which is IP address here. Once the disk is deleted or VM is deleted. No load balancing as of such, but in future demos, we will cover some more advanced scenarios with multiple servers, how data would be divided between each server. So we'll keep it as it is for now. Nothing changed in this tab as well. So we'll go ahead, monitoring, I keep everything same. Nothing changed in advanced. You can write some queries here if you want to execute them as part of the booting process. So for now, we'll keep as it is. We'll go directly to the review and create. Wait for the validation to pass. Okay, it is now passed. So let's go ahead and I'll create this VM. It's saying how you have an option now basically to save the private key, which you will need when if you have to connect from PuTTY. Okay, I'm gonna save this. Downloads Python Flask, save. Okay, now you can see the deployment is in progress. So basically, as part of the deployment, we'll see all the dependency resources that will be created, like IP address, network interface, network security group, the virtual network that will be assigned to this VM. So we can see all are ready, but are still showing in progress. We'll give a couple of minutes for this to complete. Okay, and the deployment is now complete. Let's go try connecting to this virtual machine. We can see the agent status is also should be ready for, that which is here. And you can see a new IP address that will be assigned. You can see the private IP address in this page and also the public IP address 52. We'll just copy it and say, let's put it here. We will launch when we execute an application. So we'll keep it ready. So let's connect to this VM. I'll go ahead with try connecting to this virtual machine using CLI. Let's run this validation. We'll give it a second for this to verify all the port that for SSH, which is 22, is ready. The VM is up and running. Um, any Active Directory connections are required. So all these will be validated before we connect. Ideally, manually, if we have to do this on VM without the cloud interface, these are all manual steps that we might be required to do, and this is more a time-taking process. But with the help of Azure portal, we are able to do this and saving a lot of time. Okay, it's still running. So one good part about the Flask is it can accept large number of requests on the server. So basically, it basically scales up those requests, creates instances based on the demand. So that's a good part of Flask. It's basically high end and now recently been in use by many big MNC companies as well. Okay, now we can see there's SSH command that prompting us to connect to the VM. I'll is asking for permission. I said yes. Okay, now we are connected to the virtual machine. You can see the name, which is Python Flask VM. That's a host name, and this is our ID, mndev22. Um, let's first update sudo apt update. Okay, it took a while. Okay, it's saying 10 packages can be upgraded to see all of them. So okay, for now, I think this should be enough. So we'll go ahead now install the pip packet manager for Python. So we'll say sudo apt install Python. Python here version with 3, and we need Python 3 hyphen pip. Do you want to continue? It's saying that it will take almost 250 MB for this Python. I'm saying yes. And you can see now all those Debian files will be extracted, all the packages, the libraries, they all will be extracted and installed on this VM server. So as said earlier, each project is independent of other projects. So now with this package manager, Python package manager, we will be installing also a virtual environment. That way we'll keep the codes separate and independent of each other. So now we'll say this sudo apt install virtual environment, which is for Python. I'm doing it for version 3.10. Say v env. Okay, I'll say yes. Okay, I think the environment setup is done. So now we'll try to activate it. We'll give a name to the virtual environment using this command Python 3. We'll give a module and v env I'll give the name my Flask V and V. Okay. Okay. Now we'll basically activate this virtual machine using the command source my Flask V slash bin slash activate. Yeah, you can see the prompt now chain is saying that I am actually in this virtual environment. So you are ready to basically install the web server Flask. So with the help of pip command, we're going to install Flask. Okay, you can see this was very fast than the Python itself. So now we are actually, the Flask is installed. So now we will try to create a program and we'll try to run it and see how the Flask will give us the output for this program. So with the help of command called nano, we say the file name is app.py. It means this is a Python file. Now it's like an editor where you can type. So I already have one small Python program. I'm going to copy it and paste here. So copy, I'm going to paste. Okay, so let's look at the code. So we are basically telling import this Flask, and with the help of this Flask, um, you can assign an instance to the main, and this is basically the root where we want to execute this file. And there's a function name which is hello world, and you want to basically once the function gets executed, it should give a result as hello world. That is what this program is about, and you're saying that the debugging mode should be on, and this should be running on port 5000. So now I'll do like Control X, which is to save, and click on yes and enter. So the file is now saved. So let's run this file now using uh, command python app.py. Okay, there's some error there. It's saying invalid character. Okay. Okay, for some reason the double quotes I gave we didn't like. So let's go back and try to change. What was it? Nano app.py. The last line. Um, Maybe it's other side of the double quotes. I see there's only one double quotes. I don't know why I didn't like. Say, okay, this quotes, I think maybe it's from the text editor to here. It gave a different format to the quotes. Anyways, now it looks good. So I'm gonna save, Control X and save, yes, and enter. Let's run the command again. Okay, you can see the serving Flask app. That means the Flask web server was able to launch the application app. And let's see. Now we'll go to this virtual machine, which I already have copied here, 52, 170, 188. Now I'll give a port number 5000. Oh, we have to now also allow this to run on port 5000. Let's go to the server and also set up that inbound security rule. Go to the VM, Python Flask, find the network security group here, go under networking. Python Flask. Okay. So in the inbound security rules, we're gonna add a new security rule saying, hey, please also allow traffic. It's a custom service. Allow traffic on port 5000, and source can be any, destination also can be any, and protocol I'm saying any instead of HTTP or UDP or TCP. So I'll say add. Okay, the rule is created. Let's see, it usually takes some time to reflect, so I will try if this works now. Yeah, so it did work. You can see the output as hello world. This is what we wanted. So and also the other connection that I wanted to share as part of this is once we actually connect to this VM, we have an option to connect through CLI. That's the regular option. And the other option I also wanted to share was through PuTTY. So let's go. Let's find PuTTY. We'll open this. This is a well-known tool to connect through remote virtual machines. We'll give the host IP address, which is this one. Let's copy this without the port number. I'll remove the slash. We don't need those. All we need is just the IP address. Okay, under SSH, there's an option called authenticate. So here we're gonna select the private key for authentication. So let's browse. If you recall, when we actually generated SSH, it gave us a private key to store. So this is the key that I stored, Python Flask virtual machine key. One thing with PuTTY was, if you see the key extension is, it only takes PPK extends, PuTTY private key PPK, but the key that Azure gave us was extension of .pem. So we have to convert this PEM to PPK. So for that, PuTTY gave this key generator. So let's open that. Let's load this private key. So private key is something very, the name itself is private. That means you should not be sharing this key with others. This is a key that allows us to access. So let's find that PEM key. Let's say all files. This is the key. You can see now it's saying successfully imported the key. Do you need to convert with, do you want to save this private key? So I'll say, okay. You can set any phrase, if not also is okay. Now, save private key. Are you sure you want to save without a passphrase? I'll say yes. So now here, now with the same key, but it is saving as PPK. So I'm gonna save this file as Python VM. Instead of PEM, it will be PPK. So I'll just give the file name and let it give the extension PPK. So I'm going to save this new private key. So we will use this key to connect to the VM from PuTTY. So let's go back. Let's search for this PPK key. Yeah, Python. Okay. Now let's verify if our IP address is still there. Okay, let's go. Yeah, it's there. The port number is 22. Okay, let's open now. The host key is not cached for this server. You have no guarantee if this computer you think it is. I'll say accept. It's just a warning saying that if you know this VM, then connect only. Server refused our key. Okay. Let me try one more time. Okay. Open the host server name, which is this. Okay, SSH. You can go to authentication. We open this, go to credentials, private key for authentication. Let's browse Python private key. This is the key that we have. Let's say open and server refused our key. Okay, so something with the key that is not properly, but this is something that I wanted to say. There's a other way of also connecting to the server through SSH as well. Okay, Shanti, I think this is what I wanted to demo today.
Okay, okay, fine. But this is not a web server, right? This is a development framework environment.
Hmm.
So when you say server, there should be a public IP and you can access the web page.
Hmm.
So you can create any Python environment. You
Hmm.
can create a web page also with Python program where it is going to be accessed.
Hmm.
So the first thing is it is a development framework we are setting up to
Hmm.
develop the Python applications,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll stop recording.